Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Bernadette Alexander. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be placed at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you wish to do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Hugh Grahame Henderson. Hugh Henderson was born on the 23rd of April, 1899, to Stephen and Helen Henderson in Sutton Forest, New South Wales. The family moved to Hunters Hill, a suburb of Sydney, where Hugh attended Sydney Grammar School. Hugh's older brother Ronald enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in 1915. Perhaps following his example, Hugh enlisted in the AIF in July 1917. His parents gave their consent for him to be sent overseas on active service, which was needed as he was less than 21 years of age. He trained for a short time in Australia before sailing on the transport ship Miltiades in August, arriving in Glasgow in October. Henderson then entered Durrington Training Camp in southwest England. Soon after his arrival in camp, Henderson caught mumps, and he spent the remainder of October recovering in hospital. Henderson sailed to France in February 1918 and joined the 35th Australian Infantry Battalion, which had spent the winter training and regrouping near the border with Belgium. Towards the end of March, the Germans launched a large-scale assault known as the German Spring Offensive. The 35th Battalion was rushed south to the village of Cachy on the Somme River. At the end of March, the unit moved to the nearby village of Villers-Bretonneux, where a German attack was expected. The attack began in the early hours of the morning of the 4th of April 1918, with the Germans shelling the town and the front lines before launching a large infantry attack. During the fighting, Henderson was wounded in the leg and had to be evacuated from the battlefield. He was able to walk with the aid of another man to the field ambulance. Henderson was waiting to be taken to the casualty clearing station with other wounded soldiers when a German high-explosive shell landed in the midst of the men and he was killed. He was only 18 years of age. His brother, Lieutenant Ronald Henderson MC of the 18th Battalion, was killed in action 5 days after Hugh died. The two brothers are buried side by side in Adelaide Cemetery in Villers-Bretonneux. Hugh Henderson's parents suffered further pain when the package containing his personal effects was lost. It was bound for Australia on the steamship Barunga when that ship was torpedoed by a German submarine off the coast of Cornwall in July 1918. British destroyers were soon on the scene and managed to rescue all aboard. But the personal effects of Henderson and about 5,000 other Australian soldiers who had died on the Western Front were lost. Private Hugh Grahame Henderson is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Hugh Grahame Henderson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.